Welcome to this episode of Razor Recap Live, just from Parker Sports Group here in Fayetteville. I'm the new partner that we announced this week. We're excited for this opportunity, and this is going to be one of many live opportunities we're going to have from here at Parker's in Fayetteville on a nice sunny afternoon after Razorbacks sweep another series. Men's basketball gets a big win, much needed on Saturday, as well as tournament hopes are still alive. And we also can't forget to thank our very proud sponsor, Scarlet Letter, our very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today if you're in Northwest Arkansas at the Corbury Tap Room, where you can get Scarlet Letter and all its various flavors. So we'll get started here so basketball had a big win against Mississippi State on Saturday at home. It was a much needed win as, we got the big midweek victory over
UL Monroe.
Yeah. Got the over Vandy midweek, which was big, and then we come back home for the final home game in Fayetteville against Mississippi State, who have been up and down the season, still ranked, but a game that, honestly, we really thought that they needed to split the series this week, and they ended up getting the wins both. They're going to be playing South Carolina in the first round SEC tournament, but so I said you sound clear.
You sound clear.
So after that, we'll look at this week's victory for over Mississippi State. Jonas is a game for the season, if you want to put it that way. We'd seen him this year be kind of struggling to get back from injury, and now you've got and so you had him have a good game on Saturday. Kind of in 21 point second leading score behind DJ Wagner. You look at this team as a whole kind of stepping up again without Theo. You have Jonas Adu, DJ Wagner, even Noe Davis stepping up and having big games. So, your initial thoughts on this when I talked about yesterday, which was much needed in keeping those 30 hopes alive.
Not only did they get a play win, it gives them now, because we talked about the last podcast. If they won and then Vandy lost, they were going to play South Carolina. It gives them a little bit of a redemption game going into the SEC tournament. But yeah, at the individual level, Jonas Adu, man. Like his season high for this year, 21 points, 10 rebounds, double. Then Wagner went off 24 points. Right now, if we get Trey Brazil and Jonas Adu working at the same time, that's like the perfect remedy for losing Adutio for the season, essentially. So. Going into this tournament, there's like another 11, 12 seed team that everybody wants to face this year. So right now they're hot, and this is the time to get hot. But let's not Trevor Brazil is second double in as many games. So he's coming along too, and it's just a big deal going into this tournament. Now, I'll look ahead just a little bit, and we'll talk more about it anyways. But this game against South Carolina, not only is it like a pride game, but a lot of people think Arkansas is a lock as is, just winning against, just against Mississippi State. But if they lose this game to South Carolina, even though it's a neutral site, it's still a quad two win, quad two loss. And if they can avoid getting a quad two loss going into the tournament, it's going to be much better off. So, I mean, like, ideally, I'm not one to like go get a SEC championship just so we can suck in the NCAA tournament. So, if they can win this game and then, not go too hard against some of this, so they can be fresh for those NCAA tournament, that's the best thing that could happen. So, anyway, yeah. If we're still having audio problems, it looks like. Let me see.
Yeah, I could barely hear you guys. It's kind of going in and out. Hopefully my audio is decent on the streams in. But yeah, great win. I think we're solidified in the tournament. So hopefully we don't lose to South Carolina. Can't afford to lose that one, or else I will. So I won't say completely solidified, because you're playing a team that you shouldn't lose to in the SEC tournament. So you have to win that one. After that, it really don't matter what we do. You just improve in seeding at that point. But yeah, so hopefully you guys can get your audio squared away over there.
Now I did adjust some stuff. Yep.
It's still kind of the same.
Let me see. Maybe. Yeah, you can do it.
Here's the thing, I can't do multiple, so it wouldn't go on this thing. Or like if I plug that in, would it go through this and that?
Yeah, through. Yeah, so we have to do this for. So you can take it out for the input, and we can just turn this off. So we'll have this for that, and then
Austin, you're clear.
I'm clear.
You're
You
clear.
try.
No, you're still mumbling.
That's good. Yeah, we just shared the mic.
I turned mine off.
Well,
We were just past that one back.
yeah, sure.
If that one's clear.
Hobbs.
Say something else.
Maybe
I don't know why your voice keeps mumbling.
it's your voice.
That's lovely. They're saying echoing now.
Now, when your voice, when you don't put it so close, I can hear you.
Better?
Yes.
Okay, so I just gotta hold it not right up to my mouth.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thumbs up. Back to it. So, like we were saying, Arkansas gets the much needed win against Mississippi State at home. Like we talked about it, you got the matchup or the get back game, revenge game against South Carolina in the SEC tournament on Monday, as Arkansas is game one. But as we kind of jump back to this game on Saturday, so I'm just saying we actually turned one of the lapel mics off, so we'll just have to see. Let me give this back to Austin since he's a little bit cooler here. So
Yeah, so with Transfer to Texas, you know, the goalposts do move a little bit. You know, it's because everyone has more games and loses games, and it changes the picture. So, I'm not saying they're not lacking in it right now, but people could win, you know, tournaments that, you know, you put tournaments, and those are automatically, the automatic points into the NCAA tournament. So, be safe. That's what I'm saying. I would feel much more safe if they didn't get that third quad 2 loss, and if they can get that prevention, you know, for that LA South Carolina game, it would be even better.
Yeah, hold the mic farther away from you.
Yeah. So that, and then you know, Ole Miss, it's fine. I just don't want to, since we have 7 guys in this rotation, I don't want to kill our eggs before they go into the NCAA tournament. So we just have to see how it goes from there. But yeah, I don't really think the goalposts necessarily move for it, but I just feel much more safe. But yeah. Anyway, we're going to do this audio stuff, especially for next time. This is our first time doing it live from here, and you know, it just kicks it. But bear with us, and you know, we'll try to make it enjoyable as possible. But anyway, what's your?
I mean, if you want to just go through some of the stats.
Yeah. So okay, let's go into this. More into Jonas. You know what's weird about Jonas Adu is that sure he had the season high in points, but he also had I think the worst plus and minus out of everybody on the team. That's the thing with plus and minuses. It sometimes they're working in favor and sometimes they don't. But the thing is, you can't deny putting up 21 points. That's if he's hot, he's got to be on the floor. But here's the thing: he can go out there and get double doubles, and then you can have a Brazil get a double double throughout this NCAA tournament. I mean, they're gonna surprise some folks, and hopefully we'll be, you know, a little bit better down the road. But plus, I mean, there's also the rumor like Boogie Fan trying to come back. I don't know if that's, you know, the case, but we'll have to see. By the way, I don't know what's your thoughts on it, because I don't know if they're going to be much better with Boogie Fang coming in versus, you know, playing it as they are right now. Plus, you know, there's the rehabilitation and whatnot for it. So I'm really worried that he would be more of a, you know, hurt Arkansas more than, you know, help Arkansas. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to come back or not. I mean, it's just all talk right now. I don't know anything confirmed, but you know, I don't know if it was a normal roster with a lot more guys, and I would say, you know, definitely, but we need all the help we can get. I mean, but the offense can't look like it looked like when he was on the court before he got hurt, where there's a bunch of standing around waiting to see what he did with the ball. Because the way the offense is going now is so much better, except for the game against South Carolina, which is time to get payback for that. So it's time to prove that was just an anomaly. So that's why I say you can't lose that game.
that's what they were saying, that it was that, you know, that was a dud. And, you know, it's hard to believe it with how up and down this team has been so far. But if we're thinking about it, since Boogie Fan was injured, Arkansas was 7-4. They were doing good, and that it just wasn't a great game. They couldn't hit the broadside with Barn in the first half. I mean, 3 field goals, that's just unlucky. Is what it is. So I'm with you on that. I think it was just a big, huge. It was just a big dud. I think that's the way you use dud. So I don't know. Let's see if it comes back. Yeah, exactly. Keep it from that section sit there. If Boogie Fang comes back, it'll have to be to provide the rest of the production. So, here's the thing also, DJ has done so much better with the ball in his hands. So I don't know how well he'll be at distributing the ball. Since DJ's kind of taken over that role. You want to see Buddy play off ball because I feel like he can play off ball just as well as he plays, with the ball in his hands. So with that hand injury, unless he starts shooting left-handed, I don't know how comfortable he's going to be going forward. So I really don't know how well it would do.
Yeah, because you're getting into the point now where you're almost do or die. I mean, you got the SEC tournament, and then when you get to the NCAA tournament, there's no second chances there. You win or you go home.
Exactly. We're trying something else right now. You have it right there.
How's this audio now, Hobbs?
That's perfect. Wow.
Hey, look at that.
There we go. Just had to do a little tweaks.
Okay. Now we're cooking with grease.
Use them both. Okay, yeah, now we're good. Okay, so to what we were saying with if Boogie comes back, the thing that makes me nervous is not to say it's a repeat of what happened, a couple years ago with Nick Smith. The thing that makes me nervous is if Boogie comes back, how is he going to be able to mesh with what this team's got going on right now? But then on the other side of that, how is he going to be from a rehab standpoint? Is he going to be rusty and, not shooting at the pace he was before, he got injured and went out? He had a lot of great shots, a lot of quantity shots. But that's the thing that makes me nervous is, even though we are running short rotation, guys are tired. What does it look like from an aspect of is a rhythm going to get thrown off? Because you've got these guys kind of used to a rotation now. Transplant Texas also says, however, if Theo comes back, the newest version of the offense is used to having him in the lap. That's a true point as well. So we don't really know what's going on with that, but it's going to be interesting to see if Boogie comes back. I'm almost to the point of, yeah, he's a talented player, but would he hurt you more at this point than he would help you?
I think if he's coming back and he's coming back in the SEC tournament, that's perfect. That's perfect time to try it out. I'm not a big fan of let's try him out when we get to the NCAA tournament because that's it. So, it could go one or two ways. It could help you. If you get in foul trouble, you have him to come in, or it could really hurt you by him being too off that he's missing shots or just out of rhythm. So I don't know. It's a interesting dilemma.
Yeah, I really don't think Theo's coming back though. So
yeah,
and the thing is with Nick Smith, whenever he came back from his injury, he had an injury to his leg. So there was no mechanics with the shooting. So that's what I'm worried about. If, Boogie comes in and he can't get that shot exactly looking like it did before, then it's not going to land like it did. I mean, look at John L. Davis. When he came in, he was hurt. His wrist hurt, and that affected him a lot.
And the other guys were not playing well with Boogie before he got hurt.
Right.
That's what's concerning to me. The chemistry was never built.
Well, that's true too. And it wouldn't, I don't know. Now, the thing is, what he would do is offer you some minutes to get some people some rest. And Arkansas has already gone through the gauntlet with 7-8 guys. So they could actually use him to extend that even further. right now they could play with any team in the country with just a 7-man rotation and most likely be fine if they can keep out of foul trouble. But having that extra guy in there could actually make it even better, because I mean, you have guys who have been training for marathons all season long versus guys who had 10-man rotations. So yeah, I mean, that's the biggest plus with Boogie coming back, is that he could give some guys a little bit of time off. Now, if he comes back, that's great. If not, I still feel confident Arkansas going forward. The only thing is that we'll see in the SEC tournament how well this team does playing back-to-back games like that. Giving a day's rest in between. And we'll see how they play against Ole Miss if they beat South Carolina and go from there. But honestly, I mean, they're doing pretty good with just 7 guys.
Well,
Yeah,
most of us get to see. A lot of us had to work, which is crap. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to get to the point of, if you think about it, if Boogie's okay with kind of being a bench guy, giving a guy some breaks, and because you think he could kind of fall into that role like you saw Billy play a lot of, once he went down, a guy that could come off the bench, give you maybe 10, 12 minutes. Because like if you look at the stat sheet now, Billy's played 28 minutes on Saturday. And I mean, they were a key 28 minutes. He had that key block down the stretch right there at the end of the game, which is big. He got carried off victoriously as he was cramping. But I mean, it's a weird thing. I mean, Cal knows this team. If Boogie does come back, hopefully he would get some time to prep with these guys and practice instead of kind of just being thrown into the fire, if you will. But I mean, like Transplant Texan said, I see more downsides to Boogie coming back than upsides. If he doesn't perform well, that could hurt his draft stock even more. He has been a factor in the offense for months and the chemistry. So, yeah, I mean, that's my concern, and I think that's a valid concern to think about. But Transplant Texan also said, can you imagine having this conversation about Boogie earlier in the season? The current roster and the coaching by Cal has made great strides from then. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing to think about. Like, do you try to get him back into the fold with these guys for – to help your shortened rotation and try to make a run, or is it worth it to keep what you've got going with this 7-man rotation? These guys are in a groove. They're in a rhythm. They're playing with each other very well. And do you risk disrupting that when, you've gotten key victories down the stretch here, especially in these last, winning 7 out of the last 11? It's like Cal said post-game, a lot of teams had or a lot of teams thought, Arkansas is in the coffin after we started 0-5. And I love that way he phrased this. He said, but they forgot to put the nails in the coffin. Exactly. It's like, gives me like Undertaker vibes from WWE where, the coffin door just gets slammed open and here we are back and ready to go.
Yeah, dude. Tell me a line from another Razorback coach, the coldest line you've ever heard from a Razorback coach, right? There's not another one you can tell me that – at least a one-liner like that. But still, like you were saying, I think the best – well, here, I'm going to play devil's advocate with you, Transplant Texan. So what makes you think Boogie Fland's draft stock is super great right now? Because I think there's a lot of people in the NBA that were a little put down with him, and he's probably wanting to prove – that was the injury instead of him, slumping. So that would probably be his reason for wanting to come back, is to improve his draft stock. And that's a gamble that he would, have to choose to take. Now, but if he did come back, the perfect, like you were saying, the perfect scenario is him only getting 10, 15 minutes a game at most. And then, giving some guys some breaks. And the thing is, if he gets hot, he gets hot. If he's not hot, just don't turn over the ball and we'll be good. You have, like you said, Billy Richmond, he routinely, he got double-digit points yesterday, but he routinely gets 5, 6 points. tell me Boogie Flane can't do that on a bad day. You know what I'm saying? So we'll have to see how it goes from there.
Yeah, and if you think about guys that improved their draft stock in the NCAA tournament, you think about like guys like Steph Curry that came out of nowhere when he was at Davidson and just went on that run where you're like, who the heck is this guy just hitting all these threes like crazy? Jimmer Fredette with BYU, Kemba Walker with Connecticut. This is the time of the year where you kind of see guys just kind of appear out of nowhere. You may have heard about them before, but they really pop out to you this time of year. But as far as Boogie goes, his situation, I don't know how comfortable I feel about a guy trying to come back from a supposedly a season-ending injury to his wrist and trying to come back and improve his draft stock when it's do or die, when he ain't played in months. So, and once again, the team was not performing well when he was on the court. They had one good game against Michigan. Where he went off in that game. I will say that he was phenomenal in that game. But the start of the SEC play, it was not good.
Yeah, so I quickly just pulled up a draft stock or a mock draft looking at this, and so they currently have Boogie going 30 to the Clippers and a pick that they have from the Thunder. But the quick little blurb about Boogie says an ultra quick led guard who can control the pace of a game, a bucket who can score from the perimeter, and is definitely a ball handler, but inefficient scoring at the rim. And they also have the little point, will miss the rest of the season after having thumb surgery. So, I think that's the thing. Can he come back and show that he can score at the rim, where we saw him struggle, earlier before he got hurt? Because he was a guy that I think very much was at the beginning of the season quantity over quality, because you saw him taking 12, 13, 14, 15 shots a game compared to everybody else taking less than 10. So do you see him coming back and being able to share and build into the kind of play that this team has right now, or will he go back and default back to what he was doing early in the season?
Well, you got to think about it too, Caleb. The ball handlers right now with Davis and Widener are playing phenomenal. So if he comes back, and whether it's just to give people rest or whatever, he's taking the ball out of those guys' hands, and those guys are playing really well with the ball in their hands, getting in the paint, creating shots. Wagner's really playing phenomenally, getting in the paint and scoring. And he's shooting the ball well from the perimeter right now too. So I don't know. It's a little worrisome. Obviously, I hope the best if he comes back and tries to play.
Now, so I kind of want to go. I just want to look ahead at the South Carolina game coming up, because let's just go back to what Arkansas did against them earlier this month. Let me pull it up. So, in essence, there were two guys who beat Arkansas that game. It was Nick Pringle and Collins Murray Boyles. That's it. Let's just be honest. If they can cut their production in half, Arkansas will win by 40 against South Carolina. South Carolina is not a good team. They're probably the only team in the SEC right now that is legitimately not a good team, not a borderline NCAA team, because you have them and LSU probably, but you have Georgia who's on the bubble, and you have Oklahoma who's on the bubble, Texas who's on the bubble, and then you got LSU in South Carolina. So if they can just go in there and keep Charles Murray Boyles from scoring 35 points and Nick Pringle from scoring 8, it'd be tremendous, right? Because no one else could do anything against them. So just looking ahead of that, that's what they got to do.
Yeah, if you look at it too, because I just casually pulled up the stats here. So South Carolina lost by 10 to Tennessee on Saturday. So if you pull up the stat sheet, if you just had to guess, what do you think Colin Murray Boyles did against Tennessee?
I hadn't looked at it, so I'd say
10 points.
Similar to what he did against Arkansas, or
no.
so? Yeah, to your point, Austin, he scored 7 points on Saturday against Tennessee. You know, he played 26 minutes, 3 of 7 from the field, 0 of 3 from the 3-point line, made 1 free throw, and had 3 rebounds. So, you know, whatever Tennessee did, go watch that tape. I mean, because that's what you've got to do is kind of look at what happened there, because the guy that kind of kept South Carolina in the game here is Jamari Thomas and Zachary Davis, which those guys didn't do anything against Arkansas.
Well, let me get to it. Here's the thing. The reason why South Carolina did so well with Nick Pringle, especially Nick Pringle, is that he could do whatever he wanted in the paint. So I guarantee you, I hadn't watched a single second of that South Carolina-Tennessee game, but I guarantee you Tennessee just had a really good front court. And Arkansas, for their length and their height, they've struggled down there low like that. Now, it was completely – I think it was just a weird game. I don't think they'll do this again, but South Carolina outscored Arkansas 38-18 in the paint. So that's what they need to do. They just need to be physical on defense and then, make buckets. If they score 80 points, they win this game. If they score 75, they probably win this game.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the case here too. And, Transplant Texans got a good point here too. If you look at it from an optics standpoint of having a playable Boogie on the bench due to negative impact is something he has to weigh as far as Cal. Winning will have to be the focus of Cal as you go into the tournament, not necessarily rehabbing Boogie's draft stock. I mean, that's something that you got to think about. We all know Cal is very much a player's coach, that he has that storyline to him wanting to help these guys get the league. But at what point, do you risk, does he want to win or kind of help Boogie get back to, being a top end of the first round pick? Or, is there a median there that, can do both? I don't know. That's a hard thing as a coach that he's going to have to decide.
And I think there is something in the middle, and it has to do with, just playing every once in a while. And if he gets hot, he gets hot. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And that's not something you can figure out until you get into the game and he actually starts playing. So, we can talk about whether or not he's going to do good or what, but we're not going to know until, tip off. If he even comes back, who knows? But it just depends. But I don't think Cal is going to hurt Arkansas's chance at doing well in the NCAA champion or tournament to help Boogie Flan's draft stock. I just as much as a player's coach he is, I don't think that's going to happen. Now the thing is, he could put him in a position to where at least he starts to look better, and he can prove to these scouts that he can make some shots, and he is rehabbing nicely going into the combine. That could work, and the thing is, he could also help Arkansas get guys the breaks. That's basically what it would have to be, unless he got hot. And if he got hot, then hey, it's even better.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing that I think is tough, especially being in Coach Cal's shoes. Is do you look at you have this star-studded freshman that is trying to come back from an injury? Do you want to bring him in and see if you can help him, or do you keep the rhythm this team has going and then say if somebody does get in foul trouble, okay, Boogie, here you go play 2-3 minutes and see how you do and see how this team does. But yeah, like Transplant Texan said here, I agree 100%. I wouldn't want to be Cal or Boogie in this situation. Given Boogie comes back, this could be all for mute. And I agree. It's one of those things where you have to look at it's a tough situation because it's a damned if you don't, damned if you do, like situation where, you play Boogie to try to help him. Maybe his draft stock goes up, but it hurts the rhythm that your team's in. You don't play him. You make the tournament. Maybe you win a game or two in the NCAA tournament, and you can chalk that up to success. But I don't know. It's a tough, precarious situation that I wouldn't want to be in either.
Yep. I don't know, but it's all just guessing right now. So, but looking ahead though, if we're going South Carolina, might as well go to Ole Miss, right? So that's another redemption game Arkansas could get. Ole Miss isn't. I don't think Ole Miss is as good as a team as they were at the beginning of the season when they played us. And Arkansas is a hell of a lot better team than they were at the beginning of the season when they played Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss only beat Arkansas by like 10, 15 points. It's not it's not above reality to go in there and actually beat them by 10 points. Now the thing is, after that you're going to have to play Auburn. Now I'm not super high on that game because Auburn, they are starting to slide a little bit, but they're starting to lose their seeding, right? And they might, if they lose like their first game in the SEC tournament, I don't even know if they're going to be a number one seed. They know it's here or there, but it's kind of a pride thing, and I feel like, especially with Auburn's team, they're kind of a prideful team. You got like Chad Baker-Mazar over there throwing elbows and stuff. It's going to hurt them if they're not the number one seed, at least mentally. So they're playing for a lot. So I don't really like that game for Arkansas.
Yeah, that's tough too because you get through South Carolina, Ole Miss, and then you rematch with Auburn, who it came down to a close matchup with them on the road. But I mean, we're back to kind of this conversation that we were talking about a little bit beforehand too. Is looking at it going forward. We talked about it last week. We were hypothetically okay. We're here on Sunday. Arkansas won both games this week, and you're sitting at that mark that we said you need to get you in. So would it be more beneficial to make this run in the SEC tournament, or be better off getting healthy for the dance? And it's like you saw, kind of referencing back to last week or the midweek show we had, like Hobbs' point. Sometimes those conference tournaments are worthless, and it's depending on who you look at it bracketologist wise. Some people are going to say Arkansas needs to win a game or two in the SEC tournament. Some people have Arkansas in as it is. So for me, while I'm still looking at this, I'm on the side of if we're in, just don't get blown out by South Carolina, make it a game. But if you lose, okay, don't push yourselves in having to play, back-to-back days and risk injury and getting tired and right before the big dance. I know that's always the tough part when you look at it, but I don't know. I stand on the point of if we can keep it close, potentially win against South Carolina, do that, but don't overexert yourself just to get a win there if you don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty much on that train too, but when the committee looks at Arkansas's resume, they're going to look at the quad 1 and quad 2 wins, and because Arkansas is perfect quad 3, quad 4. So that's the only ones that really matter. And I just really I don't feel bad about Arkansas's chances if they lose, especially if it's not blown out. But if some surprise stuff happens and heck, what if South Carolina beats Arkansas and they go and win this SEC championship?
Not happening.
Well, I know it's not happening, Hobbs. But you know what I'm saying? If they go and they earn a spot into this NCAA tournament, who are they going to kick out? Probably the team that they beat in the SEC tournament. That's at least how I'm looking at it.
Well, if they go on to win it, then they beat a lot of people in the tournament because they're going to win.
Well, I mean the one that's below them. So everyone else would be above them or not on the bubble. So Ole Miss isn't on the bubble. Auburn's not on the bubble. Tennessee is on the other side is not on the bubble. Arkansas is the only team that they would probably play That's on the bubble.
If you think about it, are they really going to put 12 SEC teams in this NCAA tournament? You really
Do
think
what?
they're going to do that?
Put
Do you really
13
think
teams.
they're going to give us 12 SEC teams?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to happen this year. Honestly, depends on how Georgia and Oklahoma do in this SEC tournament. If they win a game or two, they might even be in it. And if things happen around the country that that benefits them, so not only does it matter who wins the SEC tournament when it comes to people getting automatic bids, but every single conference around the country, or at least all the Power 5 conferences. So, I would just feel safer not having that quad 2 loss on Arkansas's resume when they go into when the committee goes into the room to actually make the decision. So I'm on that train.
I feel a lot more comfortable if we don't have 2 South Carolina losses on our resume.
Yeah.
See, that's what I said. I said the previous show, if we beat Mississippi State, we're in. But I didn't realize we were going to turn around and have to play South Carolina again, which is one of the worst teams in the SEC. And if you have 2 losses on your resume to them, that's not something I would like the committee to have to look at. So beat them, have a 20-win season, and I think you're in. No doubt about it. I don't think it matters what happens after that. As far as beating Ole Miss, there's not a day that goes by that I don't want to beat Ole Miss. I don't care what we're playing in. So I don't think we're that what was crazy about it is our next show is on Thursday night, which I think we'll be out of the tournament at that point. Because I don't think we're going to beat Auburn. What, do we play Wednesday or Tuesday?
Wednesday. I think it's the first game, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday at noon.
We may still be in it then. So Thursday, we'll be playing Ole Miss. We beat South Carolina. So that game would be over at that point by the time the show comes on. So the thing is, when we're talking about this on Thursday night, we're going to know really how we feel about our chances because the selection show is next Sunday. So we beat South Carolina. I think we're in. If we lose to South Carolina, I think we're biting our nails and praying to God that we're in the tournament on Sunday when we're watching the show, which may be cool if we do like a live reaction show for Selection Sunday. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll have something fun planned for that. But the one thing that also gets me is if you look at some of these projections too, how in the world are some of these bracketologists and people making these projections have Oklahoma in over Arkansas as far as their chances? So I'm looking at just a kind of bubble article on ESPN. They give Oklahoma a 72% chance as they give Arkansas a 62% chance. When look at our wins and overall resume compared to what Oklahoma has done.
Is it because they beat us when they should have called a foul? Is that why?
When was this published? I mean, it's ESPN, so they always hate the Hawgs. Yeah, published today? No.
Today at 3:30.
So, I don't know who that is, but he's completely wrong. Arkansas, look at this. Okay, so Oklahoma has one more quad 1 loss than Arkansas, and that's it. Now, here's the thing. What I was saying, quad 2, they only have 2 quad 2 losses while Arkansas has 3. So that's I cannot understate how much the committee takes those quad 1, quad 2
Who are they playing?
Games into consideration. Who's Oklahoma playing?
Yeah, in the
I
tournament.
think they're playing they're playing Georgia.
Let's go Georgia.
Oklahoma is playing Georgia. Yeah. Hopefully Georgia wins.
Hopefully
If Georgia wins, and that takes them out. I don't think they're going to make it in without at least one win in the SEC tournament. Georgia also, I don't know if they're going to make it in without an SEC tournament win.
Well,
they're both on the bubble, and
they just beat Vanderbilt this Saturday.
Yeah, they did. I think we might have broke Vanderbilt. Not gonna lie.
Hey, I'll take that. But if you look at kind of a couple of these comments from Transplant Texan here, so he mentioned going back to the number of teams that the SEC will get into the tournament, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. You look at it, what other conferences have as many Q1 teams as the SEC? None. Like it or not, you have the SEC that's the top men's basketball conference this season. Usually you have the ACC that's right up there, but the ACC has been terrible this year. But however, we know they'll want to put in the quote unquote legacy teams if they can. You think you're like Duke's in, but they've had a terrible season. But what are the odds? North Carolina gets in, like us. I don't know how well they've done, like a Syracuse. These teams that historically, to Transplant Texans' point, are quote unquote legacy teams that have success, and they may be those bubble teams that just because of what the program and who they are gets them in.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's
Well, guess what? We're
What?
a legacy team too. We got John Calipari. That's going to help us. I'm telling you right now, it's going to help the cause on Selection Sunday.
you're actually, I don't think you're wrong on that, because I mean, as much as the news story would, be insane for that one day of John Calipari not making the tournament in his first year at Arkansas, pales in comparison to how much money they're going to make off his name if he gets into the tournament and Arkansas actually wins a couple games. So no, I'm there with you on that. The thing about North Carolina, though, they're not good. I really think there's going to be a handful of teams from the ACC. It's probably going to be what do you call it? Clemson and Duke, maybe North Carolina.
Is it Louisville up there?
Louisville is actually good this year. So that's probably maybe those three, and then maybe North Carolina. But we would have to see.
Oh yeah, Wake Forest is.
Here's something else
good
though.
too.
I didn't see this a second ago. Oklahoma has a quad 3 loss, so that actually, I really don't understand how they have Arkansas below Oklahoma on that. I don't know, but I don't know. It's ESPN. You know how they hate Arkansas.
Yeah, if you take a look at, it's a bracket matrix that kind of shows, brackets from everybody, whether it be ESPN, CBS, individual bracketologists, things like that. If you look at it, they kind of have Arkansas penciled in as that 10 seed. If you scroll across, there's 90 to 100 brackets that are through here. You see Arkansas, they have them 10, 11. There's a couple 9 sprinkled in there for people that kind of wanting to get Arkansas in there. There's a couple 12s, but it's a tough one. I think to what Hobbs' point is, if you look at it at the end of the day, you got Arkansas, who a lot of people, like we said the quote earlier, thought Arkansas was dead and in the coffin. They didn't put the nails in. Arkansas rises above it, wins 7 out of those last 11, and you've played all these teams tough. And if you're the selection committee and you have an Arkansas team that's had an amazing February, won its last 2 games down the stretch, and you have Calipari, how do you not put that in the tournament? I don't think you I feel like you can't. You have to have a very good, valid reason to exclude that, because that's going to be a moneymaker for you, especially because if Arkansas falls in that 12 type seed range, that 12-5 matchups are always the fun games to watch when you're watching March Madness.
And here's the thing too. One of the questions that came up was kind of like the Florida State situation that happened last year in football. Jordan Travis went down with that really, really nasty leg break, and he was out for the season, and they ended up missing the playoffs for it. And that kind of situation was, being thought about with Arkansas. But those 2 games against Vandy and Mississippi State throws that entire argument out of the water. Scoring 90 points back-to-back like that without your top 2 scorers, I mean, there's no reason the committee should think that Arkansas is not going to do well without, Boogie and Thero. So, yeah, I mean, there's really not a whole lot other than those 3 stupid losses, those quad 2 losses. That's the only thing that's really holding Arkansas back right now.
Yeah, and since we were talking about Oklahoma, Some guy on Twitter has Arkansas and I can't remember the name of the person, but he's got Arkansas and Oklahoma playing in the first 4 against each other. What kind of sense does that make? Why would the selection show match up 2 teams that play in the same conference as a first 4 matchup? Some of these folks just don't even think before they type stuff out.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, you would think that, I don't think there's no way they put us up against another SEC opponent in the first round. Like to your point, Hobbs, that's just madness. I mean, it is March Madness, but that's just insanity to do it. But hey, if they do, they do. I don't know, but I don't see it happening. I think, I saw some mock seeding where they had us matched up with a Memphis team. What an interesting game that would be as far as if you're talking about TV numbers and things like that. Cal used to coach at Memphis. Now is Arkansas playing a former team.
Okay.
And the regionality of it.
I don't want to cut you off, Caleb, but say for instance, they do the Memphis matchup, right? Don't play the game at 11 o'clock in the morning. Please, for the love of God, if you've got us playing somebody like that, can we play at night where most people can watch?
Yeah, that, and then maybe not at 9 o'clock at night too. So somewhere.
Well, yeah, that too. But I mean, if we have to play at 9, it's better than 11 o'clock in the morning at work.
Fair enough, Hobbs. Those 11 a.m. games are no fun. So hopefully we'll get to avoid those. But it'll be interesting to see where this all lands. We can speculate all we want. Arkansas got the job done, like we said last week. Win 2 games, and you should be in. Just don't get blown out in the SEC tournament, especially to a team like South Carolina that's, dead last in the SEC. They got you once. So now it's a get-back game. I'm sure that's going to be all in all these players' minds as much as you tell them, hey, don't necessarily go in this looking for revenge. These guys are going to, when a team comes off and puts nearly a 30-piece on you, that's, of course, you're going to want to get back and get a win there. So get a win, if you need to, beat South Carolina, keep it close against Ole Miss. And I'm happy, and I think you're in.
I don't think you're in. I think you're solidly in. If you do that, and especially play it close against Ole Miss, there's no reason. And at the same time, I'd really like to see another rematch against Auburn too. I don't feel comfortable about that game, but it would be fun to see them. If I had to choose that between that and them being fresh for the NCAA tournament, I'm going to choose, fresh for the NCAA tournament.
100%, I agree. So, yeah, like Transplant Texan says, yes, no 11 a.m. or 9 p.m. tips, please. That would be fantastic. But as we kind of wrap up basketball here, Arkansas will be playing South Carolina in the first game of the SEC tournament on Wednesday at 12 o'clock Central Time tip-off. So we'll see what happens there. And, I think this is going to be a get-back game for Arkansas. That's much needed. But we'll jump over to some Arkansas baseball now, where Arkansas had another fantastic home series this weekend where they got the sweep over Portland. First 2 games by run rule. The game this afternoon, they let it go a full game. Good for them letting Portland get the experience of having a full game, but at bomb. So we'll jump into game 1, where this was one of those run rule games where Arkansas won 20-3 in 7 innings. This game's go by pretty quickly. You got Gabe Geckel get starting this one. We kind of talked about this week. How would this outing be after, not a spectacular one last week where he kind of just fell apart, if you will, and Dave let him go a little bit too long. Well, he goes 5 1/3 in this one, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 errors, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts on 87 pitches. If you watch the beginning of this game, that first inning kind of gave you flashbacks of last week. It's like, oh, is this going to happen again? But sure enough, he came out here and was able to clear things up and, have a pretty decent game.
Yeah, give credit to Gackel for coming back. Coming back and having a solid outing after that first inning, because it was pretty much the same type of weather that he played in the previous week against Charlotte, where the wind was blowing out, and our offense took advantage of it. Luckily for for us, Gackle really pitched well after the first inning. So I was happy to see that because it was, like you said, Caleb, trending towards another rough outing. But good for him, And I don't know. I think he's going to be moved to Saturday. I think we're going to have Zach Root pitch on Friday. Dave Van Horn kind of hinted toward it in one of his post-game interviews. It also gives us a left, right, left rotation for the weekend, which I think is going to be a little bit better for us. So I think that's what we're going to have next weekend. I would be really shocked if it's anything different.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if we have a switch up in that rotation. Maybe that takes a little bit of pressure off of Geckel from not having to be kind of the key Friday night guy. Maybe he doesn't have to feel like that.
Your thing.
Feel like that he's going to be one of those guys that is going to have to be key and not feel the pressure of having to come out and get that key first series win. Whereas, if you switch over a guy like Root, who has been performing week in, week out, knows the pressures of winning and being a Friday night guy. I'd be interested to see how that works, especially because, you're still without Wood for another couple weeks. So, why not give it a try next week in conference opening play?
Yeah, and Gackle's coming off an amazing freshman year, being the closer. It's his first year starting, there may be a little bit of pressure on him having to think, hey, I got to be like Hagen Smith was last year, when we've got a guy in Zach Root that's been there, done that for in the last few years, has experience. So maybe just take a little bit of pressure off of him and he can pitch a little bit more freely. Because Zach Root is, he's been the best pitcher. I mean, just plain simple out of anybody we have. He looks phenomenal. And he's a guy that you have to it'd be great if he could pitch Saturdays. That's a huge weapon to have, but I just think that it's really important to have him be the Friday night guy right now.
Yeah, because, if you think about it, Friday night guys kind of establish, the weekend for you, if you will, because if you can come out, have your Friday guy come out, have a great weekend, and get you that first series win, you're already sitting, good for the weekend, where now you only got to get another win. Whereas, if Geckel's on, say, Saturday, Arkansas comes out and gets the win on Friday, all right, you're already one game up, relax a little bit, just, pitch like how you can pitch. And then, maybe that gives him a little bit more confidence and he can work a little bit more freely through some innings compared to having that pressure of being a Friday night guy, setting the tone for the weekend and things like that.
Yeah, and we'll know for certain on our next show on Thursday, because he'll have the rotation announced at that point.
Exactly. The final 1 2/3 of this game, you had Steele Eves, another guy that Dave is given some opportunity to. The game was surely in hand at this point, and why not run a guy like Steele Eves out there and get some innings under his belt? He allows 4 hits, 1 run. Gets a strikeout on 31 pitches. Just a freshman getting some work, honestly, is what you can look at this as. Nothing, crazy spectacular, nothing, terribly bad that you can, take out of this outing for Steele Eves.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Even Dave mentioned that you don't want to bring in a guy. Sometimes you don't want to bring in a guy when you're up 15-plus runs. It was really just getting a freshman some work, because he's not really going to be at this point, Eves is not going to be a guy you're going to see on the weekends. He's really going to be more of a midweek guy.
Yeah. And then if you flip over to the offense in, this game, Arkansas puts up 20 runs in this one, another game that's big. Man, Kahil Aloy continues to rake, and it's just amazing what he's doing this season. If you look at this game, 2 of 4, 3 RBIs, 3 runs scored. Davlon 1 for 3 with 3 runs scored. Bahiva 3 of 3 with 5 runs scored, 4 RBIs. Everybody got a piece of it in this game. Even look at Kendall Diggs going 1 for 1 with 2 RBIs knocked in. Nolan Souza 1 for 4 gets an RBI, so he's continuing to, I feel like, build upon what we saw in the midweek games and getting some hits. Look at Justin Thomas 1 of 4. I mean, I think our guys are kind of finally settling in now, and you're starting to see what they can do. I mean, Dave talked about it. I think they talked about it on the broadcast. His Swatters Club, how he was not happy with the hitting, and I don't think anybody was. But I mean, look at them now. They've kind of gotten into a groove, and it's like we kind of talked about the first few weeks of the season. Give these guys a little bit of time. We're only 2 weeks in the season when everybody was, kind of freaking out and saying, "Oh, this is the same old team." But now, we've just finished the last weekend before we head into conference play, and these guys seem to have gotten into a rhythm and have gotten to the point of where they're confidently hitting the ball, and we're not just yes, we're hitting in home runs, but we're also putting the ball in play very nicely. I mean, that's like you look at skipping forward. You look at today's game. First batter of the game, Davlon puts one a blooper into center. I mean, that's what you need to do. So I feel like these guys are very much coming into form, right on schedule, if you will.
Yeah, and I don't think you can get past the one who's really impressed me the most isn't even his batting ability, but just to get on base is Thomas Jr. He has still a 471 on base percentage, and then he got on in this game. He didn't do it, super well. Didn't have any walks. He had 1 hit, but same thing. I mean, they're not just doing it, hitting. They're being patient. They're getting walks, and like you said, Iredale, he's one of the guys who he's not gonna strike out. He's either gonna walk or he's gonna hit, or he's gonna get a put out or something like that. And so, the approach to hitting is just incredibly 180 from last year. And there was people that were kind of worried, during that what was it called, the college baseball series.
Yeah,
I wasn't super worried. They just gotta get hot, get some time, and it can't be understated. The Pacific Power guys, you know what I'm talking about? Those Pacific Power guys, especially. I don't think, did he play this? No, he didn't. Yeah, he had. So Souza even got a home run in game 1. So you got Aloy hitting 3 for 3, big Aloy, little Aloy 2 for 4, and then Iredale 3 for 4. I mean, those guys from the Pacific, they're just hitting some balls, and I don't know. I'm super excited about it.
So yeah, I mean, you had opening weekend against Washington State. You play 4 games. It's cold every day. They had to move a game. They had to play a doubleheader one day because it was too cold outside to play on a Sunday. So that weekend weather was, and that's always the case. Opening weekend, it seems like the weather is just too daggone cold. And then the team goes on the road for the first time ever together. First time ever. These group of guys had not played on the road together before. They go to Texas. They drop 1 game by 1 run to a team that ended up destroying everybody there, except for us. They beat the crap out of everybody else. And, everybody just started freaking out. Oh, it's the same old team, And then, of course, we had a low-scoring game against TCU, but we did win. And then we beat Michigan, scored 8 runs against them. And then we come back home and play Grambling. Offense starts to heat up because the weather's, getting better. And they've been, I think it was before today's game, the last 9 games, which was counting Michigan up until today, they had scored 104 runs. And so this game, if you add 5 to that, that's 109 runs in the last 10 games. That's still over 10 runs a game. So regardless of competition, that's phenomenal, no matter who you're playing. Now, has the competition been the greatest? Louisiana Monroe and this team here, Charlotte looked like a good ball team. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in regional. I'm not quite sure Louisiana Monroe or Portland in regional, but I will say this, and we'll get to this game stats, but the offense cooled down a little bit today. Iredale got into one. He really in the first inning they got us going, but the guy we faced on the mound today is a pretty daggone good pitcher. You know, he threw a perfect game just a few weeks ago. So he's pretty good. So yeah, and Iredale still hit a bomb off of him. So
Yeah. I mean, you talk about Iredale, you can't forget. I mean, you look at just his stats on Friday's game. You know, he comes out there. We talk about the other guys, 3 of 4 with 8 RBIs. I mean, 2 home runs in that game. The guy that, you know, he was your pick for the guy you were most excited about, rightfully so, and he's really stepping into form and doing that. And then, you know, that game's 20-3. You jump into Saturday's game, which I didn't realize until after the game, and somebody said something, that tied for one of the shortest games since 2011 for Arkansas at 1 hour and 48 minutes. Arkansas wins that one 10-0, where you have Zach Root, the guy we're talking about that could be flexed to a Friday spot, go 6 innings and get 10 Ks for you in 80 pitches. So he didn't even necessarily go a super high pitch count and gets 10 strikeouts for you. Clearly has been the it guy of your starting rotation. I mean, you've seen Bottle Cheese have some success last week and then into this week. But from an overall standpoint, it's hard to argue with just the flat out numbers that Zach Root's produced.
Yeah. He's, like I said, this is a guy that could have gone pretty much anywhere and everybody wanted him, and he came here. So huge. This is a big time get in the transfer portal. Probably him and Iredale were the biggest ones. So, and you can see stats wise, you know, but yeah, and that's why I keep saying you got to start him right off the bat on these opening series games against SEC teams, because like you said, winning the first game is crucial because then you can play around with your bullpen. So it's just Root's impressive. Every time he pitches, I have full confidence. I'm not worried at all when he's out there. He's extremely hard to hit. He's got that funky delivery, and that fastball and curveball combination is extremely hard to hit, and he locates it extremely well. So we don't have to have offensive explosions when he's on the mound.
Right. Yeah, that's something you have to worry about. As you look at his reliever, a guy that we talked about needed to get more work in some of these weekend series is Colin Fisher, a guy that comes in, only has to throw an inning, right? You know, due to the run rule of the nature of this game, but he comes in, allows one, he gets 1 K on 14 pitches. He's a guy that I think can be a key reliever out of the bullpen for you. And once you get into conference play, you know, you saw him last year before the injury kind of really dominate in the all of his midweek starts. And then, you know, this year, I think that's what Dave is looking for out of a guy like him, to take that next step forward and be a key guy for you in some conference play series down the stretch, whether it be some relief, and whether it be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So he's a guy that I like seeing, you know, come out and have some success. Yes, it's, you know, not SEC competition yet, but I think he's a guy that you're going to be able to count on down the stretch here.
Yeah, I think Dave Van Horn kind of mentioned in his post-game presser today that, that Fisher is probably going to start on Tuesday. So I'm not sure. Golly, I'm not sure if he was talking about Fisher or not, because he mentioned that there's a guy that they got to see how he feels, and they threw a little bit yesterday. So Fisher's the only one that I think that he could thinking about, unless Dietz was getting some bullpen work. So yeah, you're probably going to see him start Tuesday night against Central Arkansas.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see which way they go, because I mean, you've also seen Bybee, who I think for all intents and purposes is you're going to see him as your midweek guy this week for all the midweek games you're going to have. As you jump into the offense from yesterday, a colder, rainy type day, not the greatest weather compared to like you had today out there. It was a day where, this offense continues. You see Charles Davalon 3 for 3 with an RBI, 2 runs scored. Vahiva Lloyd 2 of 4 with 4 RBIs. Cam Kozel 1 of 4. Keough, uncharacteristically, his first day that he kind of went hitless. Iredale 1 of 2. Kendall Diggs 1 of 4. So Nolan Souza 1 of 3 with an RBI and 2 runs scored. So he's continuing to heat up as well. Justin Thomas 1 of 2, scoring 2 RBIs and a big home run for him. So these guys are. It's like we're seeing the same thing over and over, rightfully so, because you see these guys, they're getting into the rhythm. The order's being tweaked, depending on probably how Dave feels about the pitching matchup. But for the most part, I think these guys are settling in. You're seeing, I think, for the most part, Cam Kozel has a grasp on first base. Right now, you saw Pepe get some action today, but the first 2 games through, you saw Kozel get that first base start. So, kind of going into the midweeks in SEC play, I think that's probably who you're going to see out there at first base.
Yeah, the reason the lineup was different today is because the guy that we were facing on the mound was throwing lefties were hitting .81 against him. Like I said, the guy we faced today is pretty good. But yeah, yesterday the offense exploded. You mentioned the shortest game in a long time because it didn't take long when Zach Roots, Dylan, and getting them off the field quick, and we're scoring 10 runs. The game's over quickly. So, but yeah, most impressively for me in that game was Kendall Diggs absolutely destroying a baseball. Swing looks great. He's really looking a lot better. The key guys that are really and also Charles Davalon is an on base machine. This dude has improved his batting average to 333. He is just getting on base. He steal bags too when he gets on base. I think he scored 14 runs in the last 8 games or 11 games, something like that. 14 runs in those games. So he scored 14 runs this weekend, I think. I can't remember what it was, but that's more runs than that they had all weekend. Portland had all weekend. So Davalon is really big because when you have a leadoff hitter like that, and then you have both the Aloys coming up in Iredale, I mean the chances of scoring are huge. So if he continues to do that, this lineup is gonna be really great all year long. So the guys that are key factors to get going right now is Helfrich. So he's had some good swings, but he's also had some really bad at bats. Souza played a lot better this week, so I was happy to see that. And also Diggs played a lot better. So those are the 3 guys that if they get going, because everybody else has pretty much been really good.
So Davalon had 7 runs, and Portland only scored 6. So yeah, you're right there.
Yeah, over his past 5 games this weekend and the midweek against ULM, has 14 runs that he scored. So
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
it's insane, like you said. And even you jump over to today's game and you look at, I mean, like I mentioned, you turn on the game. All right, Davlon steps up. His first at bat of the game, opens the game with a nice single into center field, just over the second baseman, shortstop's head, and drops right in front of the outfielder. I mean, it's harder to have a leadoff guy do better than what Davlon's done so far this season. It's like
I think he's hit 3 home runs. So he's got some pop, and he hit a ball yesterday that hadn't landed yet.
Yeah, he hit a home run yesterday and a home run in the second game of the ULM series.
Yeah, I think that one was a grand slam.
And so, yeah, you look at it, it's hard to ask a leadoff guy to do more than what Davlon's doing right now. But it's like Transplant Texan says, and this point's so true. He said, I like the continued mix of small ball with a few power hitters in there with the Loy brothers and Iredale. Makes me not so nervous when a game is close or the Hogs are down. Yeah, exactly. Compared to, you think the past few years, if the Hogs are down or in a close game, you're not seeing what you've seen this year. You can't count them out. And what they've done this year, like we said, from top to bottom, between if it's Davlon, Aloy, Iredale, you drop down to Helfrich's doing well. Souza's kind of starting to find himself, or even Justin Thomas rounding out the bottom of that order. You've got guys throughout all that lineup that, can give you a hit when you need it.
Yeah, and Maxwell didn't even play this weekend, really, because he tweaked his hamstring. So big thing is just getting him healthy at this point for SEC play. And he's hitting 350. So just this lineup is just all around. So we've got 6 guys that play every day are hitting over 300. There's a total of 8 people on the team that have over a 300 batting average, but there's 6 that are everyday players pretty much that are hitting over 300. That's something we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, exactly. As you look at – go ahead, Austin.
But you know what's crazy about this is that, Arkansas is hitting great. I think the way they got the lineup really, it multiplies these runs. Like we've said, the past few weeks, you're talking about the lineup. But Arkansas is still middle of the pack for average, batting average. Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, LSU, Mississippi, Auburn, Georgia, all ahead of Arkansas. And if you look at pitching too, Arkansas is also middle of the pack at number 8. Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas, Mississippi State, LSU, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, all above Arkansas. I think that, and you can prove me wrong or not, Hobbs, but I feel like Arkansas has probably played a harder schedule than most of those teams, especially Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee has played.
They have. Tennessee has played nobody. They played Oklahoma State and Arizona. Other than that, they played school of the blind every game. So, and also they play in a ballpark that if you hit a pop-up to center field, it goes out of the stadium. So their numbers are inflated. Now, Tennessee's a great team. I mean, they won the national championship last year, so they obviously can hit in other ballparks, but their numbers are a little bit more inflated than the other teams. Georgia is loaded. Their offense is loaded. The problem with Georgia is their pitching staff is horrible. So you can beat Georgia. You just got to outscore them. So it's going to be interesting because we do play Georgia this year, what that looks like. And they're going to be a top 4 team come tomorrow. You're actually going to have 4 the 4 top teams are going to be all from the SEC. LSU, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Georgia will be the top 4 in the morning because North Carolina was number 4 and they lost the series to Stanford. But and then who else did you say? Mississippi State?
Yeah, Mississippi. Well, this not batting average, but Mississippi State number 4 ERA.
Number 4 ERA. Okay, yeah, but their hitting is a little bit inconsistent. They've lost a few games already, and Alabama just lost their. I believe they lost. They were losing when I last looked. Just lost their first game today. They've been on fire. They're a much improved team, but they've also haven't played anybody. So I wouldn't get too carried away looking at these numbers right now. Plus, another thing, when you're in the middle of the pack in the SEC, it's not a horrible thing. This is a conference that's loaded, best conference in the country. If you take Missouri out of it, every single one of them are NCAA tournament teams pretty much. But yeah.
Yeah, to put a little context on that though, between Tennessee and Arkansas, there is a 2/100th of a percentage point, or 2/100. So Tennessee bats 348, and then Arkansas bats 320, just 320 straight. So there's like you're saying, there's not a whole lot of difference between number 1 and number 8.
Yeah. And it's a good question here by Transplant Texan. He mentions, is the execution of the run rule that we've had so far contributing to the rankings of our batting average and pitching compared to other teams? I know Tennessee's had the opportunity to run rule many teams and decline, but like with what Arkansas has done, Arkansas probably has a higher batting average if they play full games in some of these games that they run rule.
Yeah, because it's taken 2 at-bats away at least. They probably have a lower ERA too. So if you think about the innings you're losing and lose 2 innings to pitch and 2 innings to hit. So it's taking it away for sure, because we've seen multiple times already this year that this team scores in bunches. They have 6-7 run innings multiple times this year. So yeah, it could take it away. And plus we've got pitchers that, we only pitched 6 or 7 guys this weekend. There's
and you had the most of them in today's game.
Yeah, there's multiple guys that didn't get a chance to pitch this weekend, and luckily they got a little work in the midweek against Louisiana Monroe. But yeah, it's they asked Dave Van Horn about this, how he felt about it, and he said that the 20 run game, there should have been a run rule for that one, but he says he probably should up it to 15 instead of 10.
Yeah. And you're talking about the pitching and the guys that we had today, but you saw, other than Bottle Cheese, you saw 4 other guys today, which is, more than what you've seen in the other 2 games. You had Bottle Cheese get the start today in, place of Gage Wood being injured. He goes 5 innings, gives up 8 hits, only allows 3 runs, gives you 6 Ks through 73 pitches, goes to 5 innings. You have Parker Cole come in, give you last 2 hits, no strikeouts, 18 pitches. Aiden Jimenez, 1 inning, 13 pitches. Christian Pouch come in for an inning, gives you 1 strikeout on 18 pitches. And Carson Wiggins kind of rounds things out here with a final inning, gives you 1 strikeout on 12 pitches. So you saw a mix of guys today, like to Hobbs' point, like you saw some guys get work in the midweek, but now you have fresh arms going into this week's midweek and as you go into conference play this weekend.
Yeah, and real quick, Austin, on the ERA, is Oklahoma leading the SEC?
No, it's Tennessee still.
Tennessee.
Yeah,
okay.
Oklahoma is below Arkansas at 9. They have I'm looking at the wrong one. Oklahoma's 12. They got a 3.27 ERA.
Okay. But I think all of them teams are right there together like this, like they're so close together in like their numbers, like you mentioned. So it's going to be interesting to see, like in the SEC play, what the numbers look like. LSU,
you want to take a guess who number 2 is?
In the ERA?
Yeah.
If I had a guess, I'm trying to think about the low scoring. Alabama.
Nope, Kentucky.
Kentucky, okay. Well, another team that hasn't played anybody as well.
Yeah. No, they hadn't played nobody. Yeah, they're the only 2 with a sub 2 ERA.
Okay. Yeah, and they lost the game yesterday. Can't remember who it was, but they shouldn't have lost to them. But anyway, but yeah, the pitching, they had to pitch these guys today because if they didn't, they weren't going to get any work. We really threw our main guys out of the bullpen that are going to be huge for us, Cole, Fouch, and Wiggins. So glad to see those guys get work today. Parker Cole actually worked through some adversity today. It was good to see that. Continues to be sharp. And just a close game because, like I said, the guy that was on the mound for Portland's really good, and we were able to get to him and hold the lead. So you're going to have games like that, and that's going to be a lot of how the SEC is going to go this year too.
Yeah. As quickly looking at the offensive numbers today, like you mentioned earlier, Hobbs, Arkansas cooled down a little bit today, put up 5 runs, won a game much closer. You played a full game today, 5-3 in 9 innings. But I mean, these guys continue. Some of them continue to stay hot, like you saw Charles Davlon, 2 of 4. Scores 2 runs today. Vahiva 2 for 3 with a run, scored an RBI. You even saw Gabe Frazier come in and get some time today at short after just giving Vahiva a break. Another hitless day, unfortunately, for Kehoe, but I don't think you'll see many of those. I mean, it's good to see those happen, and then having a guy bounce back because to keep up the streak of what he was doing, hitting so high, it's you just knew at some point he was going to cool off, and maybe this weekend was a good weekend for him to do that, and then kind of get right back to it next weekend. But then, Iredale 1 of 3 with 3 RBIs. He hits an absolute bomb today. He continues to do that and excel. You saw Rocco Pepe get a hit today. A guy that we've talked about that Dave wants to get going. That can give you some backup at first base there. Ryder Helfrich goes 1 of 4, scores an RBI he hits a home run. And then Justin Thomas defensively has an absolute, web gem at the wall today, giving you defensive effort. And that's like what you see out of this team. Even in low scoring effort games, you see this team continuing to excel.
Yeah. And, Kehoe, he actually should have had 2 hits. One was robbed by a diving catch in the outfield. The other one, he had a ball to third base and really beat it out, and they didn't give him a hit for it, which was ridiculous. So kind of got robbed there. So unfortunately for him, that was 2 straight games with no hits. But I think he's okay. He definitely not going to hit 500 all year long, but he's still a threat. Excuse me, anytime he's up. And, Iredale, if you look at the numbers between the two, if you look at the numbers between the Lloyd brothers and Iredale, they really all we've talked about and everybody's been talking about is Kehoe, but Iredale's really doing the same thing he's done quietly. So, and, when you're doing it quietly, that just shows how great of a ball player he is. So he is the key. He's the key. He's the key to everything this year. Because he's going to be a guy that if Eloy Kehoe continues to hit well, he's going to be on base all the time. So it's going to see if they're going to keep the same lineup where it's the Lloyd brothers hitting and then Iredale, or if they have Iredale between them. I think we're good either way. But yeah, just let's have another good game, and then we've got a huge series next weekend. I know it's only opening weekend, but it's on the road. It's against a rival team that talks too much. So yeah. Like even in our stadium last year, one of their players hit a double and shushed our crowd, and we swept them. So just a team that talks too much, and to go in there and make a statement that we're not messing around and win the series. I don't expect to sweep. I don't ever expect to sweep anybody on the road. It would be great to sweep them, but to go in there and win a series against a team that thinks that they're good when they haven't played anybody either would be great.
Hey, so I don't think we actually talked about it since you're only just a few miles away from Oxford. Are you going to that game or that series?
No, I'm not going to go because it's excuse me, but it's we played Friday night. I can't take any time off work, but we play Friday night. So, and then I got to work Saturday. And the game I think starts at 2, and I don't get off till 1, so I wouldn't be able to make it. And so the only one I could get to would be Sunday, and it's just not worth going down there and turning back around.
Right.
And to go to that stadium, I can deal with going to Mississippi State. They actually don't act a fool there, but Ole Miss fans are a little bit too much for me.
Hey, fair enough.
At least it's not the Vandy Whistler, right?
True.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. So, kind of as you look at it, Arkansas is ready to, go into conference play. Like we mentioned, we got a midweek versus UCA at 6:00 this Tuesday. And then
So you're telling me a game we can watch in a timely manner?
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. I was surprised. It's probably because it's an in-state game, an in-state opponent, and they're not having to travel as much back and forth. So, Arkansas will round out that non-conference schedule on Tuesday as they get ready to head on down to Oxford for Friday for that series beginning on Friday. So it'll be a big one. Like Hobbs said, a team that kind of talks too much and, we need to shut them down early. I think a team that surprised some people early this season. They weren't necessarily projected to be as good as they performed so far, but, also it goes back to who have they played. Like we've talked about, like some of these teams. So it'll be a good opening weekend. I'm ready to see what the Hawgs do as they hit the road after their 11-game homestand. Unfortunately, the softball team lost the series this weekend in Oxford, but they have a big one coming up this weekend as the Oklahoma Sooners are coming to Bogle Park. We know what they've done over the past few years in softball, so that'll be a big series if you're in Fayetteville. And, baseball's not here, so get out there and watch this softball team as they get ready to bounce back, because I think this weekend's performance for them was very much an anomaly of what we've seen so far. Some of the numbers, having a plus 153 run differential, 15 out of 20 games being run ruled for them. So I think, they're going to get back, regroup, and get ready to continue conference play there.
Yeah, I mean, you see Arkansas, the softball team, they get beat 9-1, 9-3, and then they crush them third game, 20-3. So I like you're saying, I feel like it's more of an anomaly than anything. But if they can just stir up just from the circle, against the SEC opponents, because they've really just killed a whole bunch of littler, smaller schools, and then the first time they played anybody with some teeth like UCLA, they got stomped, and now you're seeing that against Ole Miss too. So I'm hoping, like you're saying, it's an anomaly. And by looking at the game 3, I think it is, but we'll see. That's the real litmus test is whenever they play Oklahoma this weekend.
Yeah. So as we kind of get ready to wrap up here, everybody keep an eye on the SEC tournament this week for basketball as they kind of get ready to, make a final push. I'll be interested to see, as days go by, what the bracketology and everything looks like. I think, as we've discussed on here, Arkansas should be firmly in after going 2-0 this week and beating a tough Vandy team on the road and then beating a tough Mississippi State team at home. So I personally don't think Arkansas necessarily needs a win in the SEC tournament to be in, but it'll help to have one. So that game will be on Wednesday at noon. You have Arkansas baseball playing UCA Tuesday at 6 p.m. And then you got the weekend series. Arkansas headed to Ole Miss, Oklahoma coming to Bogle Park, and then it'll be Selection Sunday. Next Sunday, we'll see what happens. We may do some type of watch along for that. We'll let you guys know. But as always, as we get out of here, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube page. Hit that bell so anytime we go live. That way you can tune in. You can find us anywhere you can find your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go check them out and hit the like and subscribe button on that today. And until Thursday, we're going to get out of here, and everybody have a great beginning of the week. And we'll see you on Thursday as we discuss, the first couple of rounds of the SEC tournament and where Arkansas stands after that. So until then, we'll see you guys.